Hi, I'm Bethany Warren, and you are joining me to listen to the podcast of our Millwall fan show with the No One Likes Us talking team and hosted by Eamonn Barclay, which is available every Friday at 8 p.m.
Hi, you join me with the No One Likes Us talking team of Pat Maslin, George Lampey and Gary Staff.
No one likes us! No one likes us!
Pat, you're working?
Yeah, not at the moment. I'm off for a few days, but no doubt I'll be back later.
As an essential worker, no doubt.
I'm essential for everybody.
There you go, that's nice to know. And Gary, you're working from home in communications, I understand.
I am indeed. Everybody needs phones in this time of uncertainty, don't they?
Well, they do. It's good to talk, as they say, and listen too. And, of course, last but not least is our statesman, George Lampey. And you're in self-isolation, George.
Yeah, only because I've got no mates, so, Eamonn.
Is it? It's no mate. Well, I can understand why that's the case, actually. But never mind. Anyhow, it's good to hear from you all. There's a few bits and pieces going on around and about at the Den. And first of all, I'd like to talk about Millwall owner John Berylson's statement a week ago. George, was it what you expected?
It would be exactly what I expect from John Berylson. I think it's no secret that I'm a big fan of John's, and you know, I think this football club is very fortunate to have such a chairman at the helm. So, yeah, he said all the right things, but I would expect nothing different. And I think, as I say again, I couldn't say it too often. I think this football club is very fortunate to have this man at the head of the ship, so to speak.
Yeah, he mentioned, I write to you all as the Millwall family. I mean, that was quite telling. What do you reckon, Gary? Did it make you feel that JB is committed to the long haul?
100%. 100%. I love the man. I've met him a couple of times. You've probably met him a lot more than I have. But I think he's a genuine, honest man. He's got the club's heart at its centre of what he wants to do. I think deep down he'd love to see us in the Premier League one day, and I think that would be his pinnacle. So yes, I do 100% think he's in for the long haul. But in these strange times, he's got to do the right thing, and he's done that.
Yeah, he came out with some great words there, and he put the position very clear about looking after others and helping others, taking care of ourselves.
Just to add as well, I don't know if you heard when Gary Rowett was recently on the debate, he subtly mentioned that every Millwall player is out. It's not been presented anywhere, not been on the club website, but every single player has been out in local community supplying for the elderly or the needy.
Pat, he may well be listening. What would you say back to him?
I agree with what everyone said there. It just would have been nice. It's still riling with me that the club haven't done anything about the season tickets, and for him to just mention, perhaps we're looking after you as well. We're going to put the date back 3 months. You don't have to pay for them yet. Your seats are so. To me, I know the club aren't working at the moment, but I'm sure they're working from home, and I think they should have put something out by now, because I think the deadline is the 10th of April, and I'm really disappointed in the club for that. And it'd be nice if Berylson had perhaps mentioned it.
Okay, that's a good point.
I completely agree, Pat, actually.
We'll try and get a view on that and see what happens.
Yeah, so do I, actually.
Yeah, all three of them.
I think Pat makes a very good point there. And
another thing as well, the Legends evening. My dad had tickets for that. He's now thinking, hold on, have I lost 80 quid, etc.?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going with that, and I know someone that's got quite a lot of tickets, and they actually mentioned that today to me. But I would have thought that would be rearranged, if I'm honest.
I really hope so.
I think everything is up for being either rearranged or refunds. I think an explicit message might help, but as it stands, I mean, let's be thankful that we have got John Berylson. That's the key focus. And some of those other issues might be difficult to iron out, because whilst we say I'm sure everybody's working, we don't know what the condition of all those people are that are working. So, yeah, perhaps we can get someone to reflect on that and give us some feedback. The club says it could be months before football comes back. Gary, do you think that is likely, or do you think it's going to be a lot longer?
I'm personally, after hearing a few statements today, I think we're not going to be too far away. I think it might be about a month, 2 months at the most when things start getting back. Now we've got the testing kits on the way, and if we can start getting people tested and say, right, okay, I've heard today a statement that half the country may have already had it. The Christmas flus that everyone had could have been coronavirus. And therefore, if we know that, life can start getting back to normal.
Can it? Because don't forget, in 1918, it wasn't the first wave, but it was actually the second wave of the flu that done the big damage.
I love the positivity, Eamonn.
Yeah. Positives are good. I listen to Mr. Trump every day, and I just wonder where he gets his positives from. But hey ho, that's life. Pat, Gary Rowett's training regime halted as the EFL announced the extension and enforced the further shutdown of football. What do you think of what has been put in place?
Well, they're supposed to have all individual programmes to be following at home, and I'm sure they've all got gyms in the shed, what they're keeping fit with. Personally, I don't honestly think the rest of the season will be played. I think people are underestimating what's coming. And I think this is in until at least September.
Yeah, I have a similar thought to you. I've heard what Gary's just stated. But George, what do you think then, if this is going to be a longer term affair or not, the team need to keep them at the level of performance that we've seen them playing at?
Well, in Rowett, we seem to have a very good manager who's very professional in his approach, fastidious in what he does. We've seen a little article recently about how he's got all the guys working on different bits and bobs at home. The thing that worries me is you get certain players that you have to treat differently. You know, they carry injuries or whatever, and he's not going to be able to give them the attention they need while they're doing all these exercises at home. So that's a grey area. But I think this bloke is a very professional man, covers all the angles, and he will be ready to go should the season ever start. And if you'd like my thoughts on that, I don't think the season will start. I think this season should be called to a halt, and we should work out how that ends. But I don't think it should be null and void. I think we're 3/4 of the way through a season, and so, you know, it isn't as if we've only played 10 games or something. So I think it should be all finished, and we really gear up for the season next season.
Yeah, we've heard from Karen Brady, who would support the null and void approach, and today we heard from the Millwall Lionesses, who advised us that they've been told that their season is finished. In fact, everything below the women's championship is finished, and it's null and void. So everything that they achieved and done this season is sadly not going to be there. But Colin and the team acknowledge the challenges that are out there, and recognises that what's going on is bigger than their season. So,
Eamonn,
yeah.
Knowing the lower league football quite well, because I've run a couple of teams when I was a bit younger, do you think, with the performance of the Lionesses and Stevenage in our division, when they're sorting out the divisions next season, do you think they might say, right, these two are too good for this division? Because seeing the results that are coming in, they might just tidy it up a little bit.
I can't read crystal balls no more than you can, but I think the issue really is whether those teams will still have the same number of teams in their divisions as they have this year, and that's the biggest challenge, because a few sides in the eastern region have gone to the wall this year because they just can't field teams. I think we'll just have to wait and see, and maybe the Lionesses have been with a chance. They've certainly shown their mettle, and have raced ahead of the pack.
Could I just jump in here and say that where I think the season should be finished, and it would be, it would need agreement on everybody's part, I think the first two of each league should go up, and the team that comes third should also go up.
I don't see how you can judge that. I've looked at what other people have said, and perhaps we'll go on to that a little later on when we talk about Jed Wallace's view.
I was going to say, the only trouble is people thinking the league's going to start again. You only need one of them players to prove positive, and you've got the whole squad out again. That's why I don't think the league will finish this season.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, let's talk about that in a much broader context when we get on to what Jed's view has been. Let's move on to Legend, Hero or Thank You. Right, and this was nominated by Brad Hooper from Maidstone. What do you think? Stuart Nethercott, Legend, Hero or Thank You?
I feel really mean at this part. I think, as you know, my views on Legends. He was part of a great team, and you could say the whole team were heroes, and that would probably make him one. But if you're talking individually, I'd probably struggle but give him a hero mention, because I liked him. I thought he was a brilliant player. So.
George, what do you reckon?
Well, see, I've had a lot to do with Stuart over the years, and I give you my opinion on this. It's what I'm here for. And I always wondered when Stuart joined us, coming from Tottenham, such a great big club, how he would get on at a team like ours. And he seemed to take to us like a duck to water. He seemed to love us with a passion, played with his heart on his sleeve, and even to this day, we ever try and get him on, he jumps to come on, he loves it. So, all right, Pat's right, he played in a great team, but I think he's certainly a hero of our football club, yes.
98 through to 2004. What do you think?
I didn't actually realise he played that long. I thought it was only about 2 or 3 seasons he played.
No.
A thank you, as Pat would say, from me. He's not in my top 5 best defenders we've had over the years. He's a great lad. I was watching the 0-0-01 season again today whilst trying to do some work, but it was a nice distraction in the background. And he did come up with a few good goals. He was alongside Dyche in that team as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's right.
And Dyche was just the better, stronger, honest player who was, to me, would be a hero, not Nethers. I know Nethers actually lives near a place I've got in Spain, funny enough.
Oh, he's your neighbour, Gary. That's nice.
Yeah, he goes to the market down in Torrevieja quite a lot.
Oh, we'll send this over to him.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
But no, unfortunately, sorry, Nethers.
Yeah, he did play over 200 games for us.
He did.
Didn't he?
He did.
But
yeah.
I mean, it's quite sad he didn't play in the FA Cup final, did he?
No.
I mean, that must have been gutting for him.
Yeah.
But
there's a few.
I'd give him a really big thank you, I think.
Okay, Pat, he's a big thank you. George?
He's a hero to me.
Yeah. Gary?
Thank you.
Oh, well, there you go. Thank you, Stuart Nethercott.
What does thank you mean?
But thank you means thank you, but you're not a hero and you're not a legend. There you go.
We liked you.
A bit like myself, then.
Could be.
No, you wouldn't even get a thank you.
Okay. Coming up next, we'll listen to Bethany Warren, and then we'll hear from David Forde, a blast from the past. And after that, we'll look at a few other things that are going on around Millwall Football Club.
Bethany Warren here again. Thanks for listening to our show and this podcast. Don't forget, Love Sport Radio is still running with the up-to-date sports news and the news of issues of the day. You can listen online or on DAB. Hopefully we'll be back on the air with them when things get a bit better.
This is the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport. Myself, Matt Beadle, with the guys from Nolu, talking George, Stan and Pat. Right, I'm delighted to say that We've got a Millwall legend on the line now, former Millwall and Republic of Ireland goalkeeper who retired from the game just last week. He signed for Millwall in 2008 as a 28-year-old, having had spells between the sticks in Ireland, England and, of course, Wales as well with Barry Town. It was at the Den, however, where his career truly kicked off with a 9-year spell amassing nearly 300 games for the Lions. He's the oldest man to ever make a competitive appearance for Ireland. He racked up 24 caps for his country, including being named in the squad for Euro 2012. And after a short but oh-so-sweet spells with both Portsmouth and Cambridge, he has hung up his gloves. As you'd expect, Mr. Forde hasn't done things conventionally, with an emotional, poetic video and accompanying short film released on his Twitter account just recently.
It's time for me to lay down my gloves with a heart full of gratitude and love. And I'd like to say thank you to my family, the fans and my friends, to my coaches, mentors, teachers and teammates that have walked alongside me throughout the years. Thank you for the memories, for the honour, for the love of the beautiful game.
That, of course, was the dulcet tones of David Forde. David, welcome to the Millwall Fan Show. The best possible start we could have had to that one. David, as I said, welcome. Can we just quickly start, before we move on to some wonderful Millwall memories, that video, that poem, wonderful. Where did the inspiration come from?
Well, it came from a very close friend of mine, and, as we were sat down having a chat and deliberating my retirement and stuff, and we just kind of come up with the inspiration of we're going to try something different, and really felt that we wanted to give something back to the fans, and thank them for the help and support and everything they've given me and my family down through the years and stuff, and everyone involved in football really. So yeah, we just started brainstorming, and we just thought we'd go back to our Celtic Irish warrior roots, and we pulled out a bow on and started writing a poem, and we went back to Galway, back to the West Coast, where it all began, and we just decided, let's explore it and have some fun, and yeah, we were really happy with it, the way it turned out, and to be honest, just truly amazed and humbled by the response it received.
Hello, Dave. It's George here.
Hey, George.
Let me take you back to 2008 when you joined us. Was that an easy decision for you to make?
It was a no-brainer, because really I always had an affiliation with Millwall. I always looked back as a young kid and stuff with the Irish players and the Irish content there, and there was something that always drew me towards Millwall, whether it was the line and the crest and the den, and it was just the uniqueness of the club and stuff, and I always had a grow, I suppose a likeness and a fondness for the club and stuff. So once the club came in, and I thought, wow, this is a no-brainer. Obviously, I think John Berylson had just come on board. Kenny Jackett was, very, very persuasive and adamant, and he wanted to be successful, and I just thought it had it all really, with the stadium, with the training grounds, and with the ambition. That was a big thing. The club were ambitious, and they wanted to get promoted and get ahead, and at the time it suited me and my ambitions, so I was desperate, go and play first team football. Kenny saw me the dream, and I was in hook, line and sinker. It was a no-brainer.
Oh, hello, Forde, it's Pat here. Who was your biggest inspiration at the Den?
Who was my biggest inspiration at the Den? One of my biggest inspirations at the Den is an unsung hero, and that's Veronica Quinn, and she's the head of catering now, and I think she's there nearly 30 years.
Oh, this is the best answer I've ever heard. She's an absolute...
He loves his food, this boy.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, but it's funny, because when she arrived, I was obviously coming down from Cardiff, and with a newborn baby, and everything else was kind of happening for us up in Cardiff, and my wife had concerns about coming to London and everything else, and Kenny, with his bit of genius, rang Veronica and says, "You're Irish, Veronica, he's Irish, give him a call," and it just, she's been like more of an aunt figure, and she's been hugely beneficial and hugely helpful to me and my family throughout my whole journey at Millwall.
Dave, it's Stan here. One of the questions I'd like to ask you is, you played alongside Neil Harris. Did you ever, in all the time he was playing, did you ever actually see him? Did you ever get your think that he might well come on to become a manager? Not necessarily at Millwall, but did he? Could you tell by the way he talked about the game that he would at some point would become a manager?
Oh, absolutely. That was a no-brainer. He was always destined to go on to be a manager, and certainly a Millwall manager, and he's done a tremendous job. You know, you look at the resources he has in comparison to what the rest of the Championship has, and I think he's done tremendously well. And as far as I know, he's the longest serving manager in the Championship at the moment. So he has gone and he has absolutely smashed it out of the ballpark. So it's great to see. But when you played with him and you've seen his passion for the game of football, his love for the game of football, but more importantly, his love for Millwall. He was Millwall through and through, and it was great for someone like me coming in, even though I was 26 years of age, but just having the chats and the cups of tea and just telling me about the culture of the club, the environment, what it takes to be a success at Millwall, you know, what the fans are like, what the people are like, what they expect, you know, 100% commitment. And you know, he was hugely beneficial in helping me settle into the club. So from there you could see he had all the attributes, you know, in terms of his observational skills and his way he communicates and how he actually interacts with teams and team dynamics and stuff. So yeah, for me, I always felt he was, and to be fair, and delighted that he's having phenomenal success with the club.
David, I just want to, before I quickly get on to your memories, your fondest memories of the club, just a quick Championship score update. Fulham have taken the lead at Huddersfield. Eamonn Caballero, obviously on loan from Wolves this season, has put in an absolute perler beyond the despairing dive of Huddersfield goalkeeper Grabara. So that is Fulham 2, Huddersfield 1 at the moment. But back to David, fond memories of playing at the Den, playing for Millwall. It was obviously a very long journey for you to eventually make it in the English game, and you made it emphatically so with Millwall. What for you is the standout memory? You've got the League One player final, you've got numerous clean sheets, but what stands out for you mostly?
Yeah, obviously there's been, you know, it's been such a roller coaster, you know, some amazing highs and some crushing lows. It's a no-brainer to talk about getting promoted from League One into the Championship, staving off relegation, some big moments, FA Cup semi-finals, trips to Wembley. It was just phenomenal. It's hard to pick one, but one moment that does stand out to me was I think we played Swansea my son is 8 now, so that's 8 years ago. And the morning of the game, he was actually born. We had a chance to go for the playoffs. And I think it was the year Swansea got up to the Premier League, and I think we needed to beat Swansea anyhow to get into the playoffs, but they beat us 2-0 and stuff. And on that evening of that game, I managed to drop my wife at the hospital, and she was like, "You've work to do, so off you get to the game." So I ended up getting to the game, I think, racing through crowds, and got there, I think, 2:30 or 2:25, managed to do a slight warm-up and play the game. Unfortunately, we got beat, and back that night, my son was born. So there's so many memories tied into that, not just on a football level, but on a personal level. But really, for me, the ultimate high was winning at Wembley, especially in the way we did it after losing. It was so devastating. It was so disheartening to lose the first year. But we made sure we weren't going to do it the second year. So that was extremely pleasing, and against all odds that we managed to turn it around the following season. And Robbo stuck his big foot out and managed to get the winner, which was such a euphoric experience. You know, it's hard to put it actually into words. You know, that high.
Let me talk to you about one of the greatest pictures, I suppose, of you and John Berylson smoking the cigar on the pitch. Come on in, give us a story on that one, because I know it looked great. You know, sort of, we were all wondering what was going on there. What was?
Yeah, I had to buy the cigars. It wasn't John the bottom anyway. So, yeah, I think we played Bournemouth, and it was we had to win to stay up. So we played fantastically well that day, and we won 2-0. And we had a kind of behind-the-scenes tradition going that when we got promoted at Wembley, we were down in the Wembley changing room, and John came in with cigars, and he started lighting up a cigar, and he gave me one. So we had one down in the middle of Wembley till the fire officer came in, and we nearly burnt the Daniel Wembley Stadium down. Like, so then when we'd stayed up that day, and it was totally unbelievable scenes at the Den, and he pulled out a cigar and handed me one, and we had one pitch side, which was it was a first and a last. So yeah, it was just great times. You know, I've so much time for John, and he's been so beneficial to me in my career and everything. He's helped me with me and my family and everything else. So there's none but gratitude and love for the man.
I think he said, I remember him saying something like, they said, there's no smoking here, John. He said, well, you tell the 18,000 Millwall fans out there that I can't smoke. So, yeah.
Exactly. He was a brave man, whoever said it anyhow. I don't know if he's still working down there.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, Dave, your roommate, when you travelled away, who was your roommate, and what was his greatest attribute, or what was his most thing that used to get right on your wick?
A lot of the time, my main roommate was Dunny, so myself and Dunny roomed together, and his main attribute was, that's a really good question. He made a bad cup of tea, that's all I know anyway. We'd some great times away and stuff like that, like, you know, so. And then I suppose, you know, lately towards the end of my career and stuff, I started rooming on my own and stuff, you know, just to get myself in that sense of preparation and get me head right for the games coming up.
Moving away from Millwall, what was your biggest achievement playing for the Republic?
Yeah, obviously, you know, fulfilling a dream of playing for Ireland, you know, that was something that I thought had bypassed me, and then to get a call up at 31 years of age. I remember we had played Burnley up at Turf Moor, and Josh Wright had stuck an absolute phenomenal volley in from 30 yards, and I think we won 3-0 or 3-1 at the time. And we were coming back down the motorway just over the Pennines, and I had a phone call from a strange number, and it was Alan Kelly, the Irish goalkeeping coach. And he just notified me that, you know, Giovanni Trapattoni himself has called me in for the squad. I think it was against Macedonia. And, I can't even remember who the other club was. And just that sheer elation, that sheer emotion. I was in tears on the bus on the way down as the game of cards was going on. Like, you know, I think the lads thought I'd won the big pot or something, like, you know. But that was phenomenal to get up and make an international debut. And there was a time where I didn't think I'd get one cap, never mind 24.
David, before you go, just very quickly, your thoughts on I mean, have you been keeping tabs on the boys? Have you seen them this season? What do you think they are going to achieve? Obviously, 3 games into the new campaign, unbeaten as things stand. The guys here aren't getting too carried away. They're staying realistic. But what do you?
We are.
No, it's a fantastic start to the season. I think you look back through the years in my time there, you know, some of our biggest Achilles heels was slow starts. So it's great. It is a great thing at Millwall to get off to a flyer and to get off to a good start. I think Neil is, you know, especially with the wholesale changes, losing Lee Gregory and especially someone like Steve Morrison within the dressing room, and he seemed to galvanise the team. And, you know, you look at the likes of Ben Thompson there, who's, you know, a phenomenal midfielder, and it's great to see him that he's absolutely pulling the strings there in midfield. You know, you've Sean Williams' experience. And, you know, I think they've been really clever in the goalkeeping department. You know, it took a while to sort out, but once they did, I think Bajlowski is a tremendous signing for the club, and as well as Frankie Phelan. So there's great competition in terms of the keepers at the moment and stuff. So, yeah, I think it'll be a strong season, you know.
I just want to quickly, you mentioned the goalkeepers there. Your thoughts, obviously, they've got Frankie Fielding, they've got Bielkowski, made a great save last week at the Hawthorns. Luke Steele came in midweek. He's joined on loan until January because of Fielding's injury. Where do Millwall stand on the goalkeepers? Obviously, Fielding's very impressive. Bielkowski's been okay with Ipswich. Luke Steele, an established goalkeeper, apparently turned down the chance to join Manchester City as the number 3.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's purely speculation. Who's to say what happened and stuff like that? Like, but no doubt, I'm sure it was a possibility for him. Like, you know, so that tells you a lot about the boy, that he wants to go and play football and play regular first team football. He sounds like a man after my own heart. Like, you know, that when I've had those opportunities and those chances, that for me it was just all about playing and for the love of the game and stuff. I couldn't just go there and sit and watch. Like, you know, I just love the action. I love being on over the white lines and being in the thick of it, being in the midst of it. Like, yeah.
David, I want to finish this interview by doing some sort of inspirational poem, but I don't think I've got that in my locker. So I'm just going to say thanks for joining us. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thanks a million, guys. It was really appreciate that, and all the best for the rest of the season. And thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Phil.
Yeah, cheers, Dave.
Cheers, mate.
Great to hear that interview with David. He was a committed player for Millwall. Hopefully we'll get him back along the way in a not too distant future. Right, back to the issues are going on and around in the Millwall community and at the Den. Well, perhaps not at the Den at the moment, but around what's going on at the club. First up, Harvey Brown. He had his blue badge stolen, and this was given quite some coverage in the Southwark News. Gary, can you believe that this could happen?
I need to probably hold back my words on this. So I use subtle ones like vile, disgusting, horrible people who I share my world with. If they can do stuff like that in a time like this, doesn't even bear thinking about. So I will hold back a lot of what I'd like to say, but I feel sorry for Mr. Brown and Harvey and all his family, and I hope one gets sent out to you as soon as possible and they catch whoever did it. So I'm holding back a little bit on that.
OK, we'll look out for those perpetrators being caught sooner rather than later. Pat, you get involved in supporting Harvey directly through your Millwall past and present sponsor team. Is Harvey a legend at our club?
Of course he's a legend.
Ah, he's a legend. Go on.
Of course, yeah, you'd have to give him legend. He's a lovely boy.
Yeah.
And he usually always gets invited along to the supporters' sponsor meals and that. And he's such a well-behaved boy, and everyone just loves him. I mean, the family's so well known in Bermondsey. It's very surprising this has happened to him. It's not just that; it's the cost of the insurance his dad's got to pay on the broken window of the car. It's really sad indeed that we have got low-life scum in our society.
Yeah, it's a tragedy, really. It's just quite incredible that they would do that. And he's only recently come, out of that operation that took place on the 11th of February, and that was really going to be something. And his ability to get parked up, placed wherever he needed to be, would have been a much better thing if they hadn't have taken that. Jules, what would you say to Dean and the family, given lots of our fans have been disgusted by the incident?
Well, on a light note, just to start off with, I'm very disappointed Pat never invites me up into the executive lounge when she has her sports day, but there you go, that's another matter. But,
that's because you've got to put your hand in your pocket first, Jules.
I think he did last year.
Did he? Oh, blimey.
But, Dean and Vicky, especially Harvey's much loved amongst Millwall supporters. He certainly is a legend, and Dean and Vicky would know just how much he's loved, and I'm sure, I hope with my hand on my heart that these were not Millwall people who did this, and I think the family all know that Millwall he is loved and cherished, actually, so I think they would know that.
So we send all our best wishes to you, Dean, and Harvey, and the family, and hope this bad thing that has happened to you doesn't affect you too hard. Anyhow, on to that Jed Wallace conversation that we talked about a little bit earlier on in bits. He's voiced exceptional commitment to wanting to complete this season. Pat, is it reasonable for the club and fans to expect this of their players?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, most of them get a fairly decent wage. You'd expect any player to show commitment to the club. The supporters expect this of the players, and if you've got one come out and said, well, I'd rather go on holiday, you can imagine the abuse he's going to get anyway. But I think Wallace truly believes that we could get promotion, and I think that's why he's so desperate to complete the season. I don't want to disappoint him by saying it's not going to happen, but no, it was nice of him to say he'd give up so much just to continue it.
Heartwarming generally all round. I just wonder though, the practicalities of all those things, perhaps in the sense of what you've said, that it's not likely to happen, because there are so many complications. I mean, only today, old Steve Kavanagh talked about the issues surrounding contracts and the issues surrounding those people that we could perhaps buy into the club, but where's the money now? Are we going to have that sort of money to be able to do that? There's so much that needs to be ironed out, but those things can be. I'm going to go and move on to Gary. Would you do the same if your organisation had big challenges ahead when you return to normal working?
100%, and that's exactly what I'm doing at the moment. I'm working from home. I'm preparing for meetings, preparing for training sessions that I've got coming up. Well, had coming up, but have now been postponed. I'm working from like 8 o'clock till just before we started on here tonight. So I completely agree, and I echo Pat's comments. Obviously, we all want to get the season finished. I agree. Jed probably does want to get the season finished because we are knocking on the door. We could run 4 or 5 games together and get safety into the playoffs and be that team that everyone hates who's just come into the playoffs. The late run, we could be that team. Just sitting outside, then knock on the door, come in late doors. I really, really, really hope in all my heart that we do get the season finished. And echoed what Jed's saying. I'd do anything.
Yeah, you use the hate word there. Gary, just remember, it's no one likes us, not hates us. That's the truth. But the bottom line on all of that is tangled up in so much else that possibly could go on. I mean, George, this week we've heard that a particular club in the Championship wants to reduce its wages to $6,000 a month for its staff. Is something like that going to be getting in the way of moving in the direction that Jed's sort of holding on to?
Well, I think, just like Jed, and if I understand what Jed is saying, and I, to be honest, just to put this on my, same as me type of thing, I did this for my firm when they were in trouble. I gave my holidays up. So I understand a player like Jed. I'm not saying all players would want to do that. I understand a man of his calibre wanted to do that, and I think that's, a credit to him. When it comes to maybe asking players to halve their wages or, a third of it or whatever, I think at this time, which is unprecedented in whatever we do, I think you're entitled to do that as a football club. You've got no one coming through the door. You're all trying to stay alive, and I think the footballers themselves, and I'm sure this would be hard work for the CEOs, whoever they may be, but I think it would be a good policy for the footballers themselves to step forward, in grades, depending on what league they play in and so forth, but to do something like that, yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Could I make a comment?
Yeah, go Gary, yeah.
I've personally had to take a 20% drop. I'm not going to mention the company I work for because I don't think it's common knowledge and right to put it out there. But I have had to take a 20% drop, and everyone has accepted it across the board. We've gone down to working 4 days a week or shortened hours to cover that loss. But we've all got our phones on. We've all got our laptops still turned on. We might not be sitting there looking at them constantly, but we have got them turned on. So I agree 100% with George that, yes, and maybe some of these Premier League teams should start looking and maybe moving some of this money elsewhere to help local communities. I don't know if they're doing that, but the money these players are getting, yes, 100% they should take a drop to help the clubs out.
Pat, have you got any final view on that?
Well, just wasn't it today they said about this payment for the people with jobs who aren't getting paid at the moment, the 80%?
Yeah.
Some of them were looking at that from the Premiership. I thought that was disgusting. I mean, you've got some of those on millions per year, and you've got players mentioning that. I don't know. It's not right. The FA should be looking after their own.
Yeah.
And they should be doing what the government's doing. Yeah, they should be doing what the government's doing for the population. They should be looking after all the lower league teams, looking at their wages and helping them out and putting their hands in their pockets.
A lot to be heard and a lot to be seen. We have seen some really good stuff being done by clubs in the community and Millwall themselves. Their staff, they they encourage them to go out for 2 hours a day and do work in the community whilst they're working for Millwall, and I think that's the sort of stuff that really makes you appreciate the football team that you support. But in closing tonight, it's been great having you guys on, and we'll be back again next Friday when the podcast will be released through our Facebook and also through Twitter, and it'll also be on the Spotify drops and the iTunes, so you'll be able to pick it up there, on SoundCloud, on Spreaker, and hopefully on Amazon too. Anyway, what I'd like to say on behalf of all of the No One Likes Us Talking team is how much we appreciate all those people that are doing such wonderful things, working on in jobs that are critical to the country being able to run. And in particular, I'd like to say about the National Health Service, who are at the forefront of fighting COVID-19. Our very best goes to them in getting the best results that they possibly can. To the rest of us, those of us that are not doing much, I'd just like to say, stay safe and keep it safe on the streets if you need to go out there. That's good night from us, our Millwall Fan Show.
Night.
Night.